and that corporate culture from big companies that they work for, and even small ones.
GoWork is a homegrown co-working space operator and business platform in Indonesia.
Everyone, I'm sorry about the delay. I understand that Vanessa has some issues connecting, so hopefully we should be able to start shortly. So sorry for the temporary delay, and great for everyone to log in.
Hi everyone. Hi, this is Vanessa. I'm sorry for the delay. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties right now with my video. For some reason, no matter how many times we've done this, it still doesn't work as well as we would like. So please bear with me for 1 minute as I'm trying to share my screen. I think there's a bit of a lag in the connection from my side because it's raining here. I've been trying it all morning. I'm so sorry about this. Please bear with me, James. I'm sorry. Still trying to figure out why my video doesn't work.
No problem at all. Vanessa, would you like me, while you're doing this, would you like me to start with my presentation perhaps?
Yes, James, you can start with your presentation first.
Let's do that. Can you just do the sharing to me, please? And then I don't want to keep people holding.
Okay, just that.
Thank you very much indeed.
Sorry everyone for the inconvenience.
So I hope everybody can see my slides. So just to introduce myself, my name's James Allen. I'm the country head for xJLL, the commercial real estate broker in Indonesia. We've been in Indonesia for over 35 years now and cover all the sectors: office, logistics, industrial, cap markets, retail, facilities management, project development, and property management. And it's great to have the opportunity to speak to you all today by webinar, the new normal as it's becoming, and obviously to talk about how real estate is impacting everybody. It's interesting whenever there is a crisis, and although this is a health crisis that will no doubt is leading into an economic crisis, corporate real estate always gets pushed to the top of the agenda, and all of a sudden corporate real estate decisions become much more visible to CEOs across all different business sectors, for the prime reason that it's the second highest cost after people. Now, in Indonesia, obviously, with the labor laws not that favorable, it's difficult to manage the people cost. So again, that really does heighten even more why real estate becomes very important as a place to potentially reduce cost, manage cost, or indeed manage how we work moving forward. Now, I'm just receiving a message that people can't see my slides. Is that the situation?
I cannot see your slides, James. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Let's see
what I can do.
Let's see.
Let's try that again. Sorry about the technical issues, everyone. Okay, can you see that now?
I still cannot see it. Hang on just 1 second.
Okay, if you might.
Okay, let me try it from my side. Hang on just 1 second.
Sorry about this, everyone.
We tried this 3 times yesterday and it worked.
It worked every time.
Yeah, it worked.
Too much homeschooling going on. It's crashing the system.
Hi, James. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Did you see my slides earlier?
No.
Okay, hang on just 1 second. Let me just try this again. See if this can work. How about now? Can you see?
Yes, I can see the slide, yes.
Okay, great. Okay. So why don't we reset? It seems like, yeah, It seems
Thanks
like
for everyone's patience.
yeah. Thank you so much, guys. It's one of those days for us. We practiced this yesterday, and then this morning with the technical arrangement, but it still happened. Anyway, good morning or afternoon, depending on where you're dialing from. Welcome to all of you who can join me today, together with my guest James Allen. James Allen's the country head of GLL Indonesia. I hope you're coping well with a work from home arrangement. I don't know about you, but I certainly become and feel a lot busier during this work from home period. So thank you so much for bearing with us and sharing your next 1 hour with us today. We actually have a lot of caller today, and if we can have a quick type in to know where you're calling from. If you can go to the Q&A on the left, quickly type in where you're calling from so we know where everyone is from. Hong Kong, Singapore, Jakarta, Medan, Surabaya. Wow, cool. So you know your audience now, James. So before we start with James' presentation, I would like to have a short introduction, brief introduction, and on myself and about GoWork. GoWork is a homegrown co-working space operator and business platform in Indonesia. We have a simple yet strong core purpose, which is to improve the quality of work life so that everyone can produce their best work and lead meaningful life. So since inception in 2016, we are currently operating in 23 hub locations across Indonesia. We are serving and helping more than 16,000 members across not just our offline platform, but also online platform, ranging from individuals all the way to enterprise. We've also worked quite closely with JLL on this end. We have a lot of monthly events. Right now, obviously, people don't go to events anymore, so we are conducting a lot of these online and digital content for the community and also our network across the globe to keep learning and to keep developing themselves. Just a quick share of our plan in 2020. I know everyone is going through a hard time right now, but we also have to think about how we can grow moving forward. So for GoWork, our project now that are ongoing and also still in plan for 2020 are in 9 locations in Jakarta, Medan, Tangerang, and Surabaya. So today we have, James had a short brief beginning of the presentation earlier. Apologize for that, James. I have not had a chance to introduce you yet. James is currently the country head of JLL in Indonesia, and he is based in Jakarta. Before coming to Jakarta, he was in Shanghai from 2016 and then moved to Jakarta in 2018. I think that was around the same time when we met, right, James? In Shanghai, he was a tenant representation specialist and had commercial leasing. So he had a broad expertise in not just leasing, but also residential, capital markets, and tenant representations. He is a board member of the JLL Asia Pacific Leasing and Tenant Representation Board, and he has a long list of affiliation and great education from the UK as well. James, I think it would be great if we know who our audience is. So if maybe my co-organizer can share a poll to the audience so that we know a little bit of your background. What is your position? So the callers now in the webinar now, are you a landlord and developer? Just a landlord, so somebody else developed your land for you? You're a tenant, Meaning that are you a tenant in a mall, or you're a tenant in an office building, or you're just here because you're just curious? Okay, I have a couple more seconds for you guys to answer, and then I will share the answer to you. Okay, quickly. All right.
Good mixture.
I'm going to just open your slide just in case if you cannot share it from your side, James. Okay, great. So, cool. So 50 of you are just here because you're curious. And then the next one is landlord and developer, tenant and landlord. Great. So I think that is the end of my part before James starts sharing. A couple of house rule, sorry. So after the presentation, we will have a Q&A session. If any of you have any questions during the presentations, please write it down in the Q&A button on your left, and then I will read out. Hopefully, we can go through a lot of the questions, most of the questions today, and then we try to entertain everyone. Okay, cool. So without further ado, please, James, take it away. Do you want to try and share your screen again from your side? Let me just do this.
Yep, that'd be great.
Okay.
I don't have control yet.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you. Can you see those slides yet?
Not yet. Why don't I do it from my side? Okay. Start sharing.
If you could click out of that one.
Okay. Can you see mine? Yes? Can you see it?
No, if I could have control, then I can share my slides. That'd be great.
Okay. Okay, there you are.
It should be with me, so give me 1 second. My whole screen is frozen, so if you can put my presentation up, that'd be fantastic.
Okay. Let me try that. Start sharing.
Apologies, everybody. Seems to be having a bad day on the technology side.
Can you see the slides? guys? Um, okay. James, please let me know if you can see our slides. Okay, James, can you see our slides? Hi, James. James, can you see it?
Hello, Vanessa. Can you hear me now? Hello? Hello?
I can hear you, James.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Yes.
so I'm really not sure what's going on here. I was thrown out the system then. Seem to be
Okay.
back.
Okay, great. You can see our slide, right?
I can.
Yes. Okay, great. So you just guide me and I will go through it.
Okay, look, so thank you again, everyone, for your patience, and apologies for the confusion on this. As I was saying, obviously, the second highest cost for any company after people is real estate. So corporate real estate has certainly been pushed up the agenda. But what I really wanted to do to introduce that before we go into Q&A is really to just give some headlines of what's going on in the real estate industry, full stop, and then touch on what changes we think we're going to see to workplace when we come out of the health crisis. So if the agenda is really going to be how we lead together, the new reality, workplace strategy, and a bit of change management, and a bit more on that change journey, and indeed on the BCP that we're going to be discussing today. So can we move to the next slide, please? So the way leaders behave and act during a crisis will establish their credentials as good leaders or poor ones. I mean, that's very relevant whether you're the CEO or whether you're a team leader. It's times like this where particularly the junior staff really look for our influence and our guidance. People are working, the virus has forced us all to work from home, which is a very strange environment, especially for those who are just starting out in their careers, because they really lack that guidance and that corporate culture from big companies that they work for, and even small ones. So again, really is an important time, and we're all going to be judged on how we have coped through this health crisis. So just to really focus on that. If we could move to the next slide, please. So the three main pillars for any organization in this, and this is very much from JLL to GoWork to whatever sector you're in, three ones is our people, looking after our people, and that's our workforce. It's very different for some people who are working from home with children as it is for others who don't. Obviously, the distractions of homeschooling, which room to work in, which one's going to be most peaceful, and then if both parents work as well, can cause a lot of disruption at the home. And we really need to think about that when we're dealing with each colleague. Everybody has different circumstances to deal with, and have to treat everyone as an individual, not as one team, due to the different circumstances. And we need to make working from home work and make it fun, and indeed lead from the front. The other one is with clients. Obviously, a lot of us, especially in real estate, we're used to having a lot of contact with our clients, lots of meetings, lots of lunches, lots of dinners. And I, for one, I'm certainly missing that interaction with my clients and my colleagues. But it's very important that everyone still obviously communicates with their clients, picks up the phone, WhatsApp, emails, constant contact, let them know you're there, whatever sector you're in. And cash is king. Obviously, we're all in this together. Many companies are staring the revenue 2020 abyss in the face right now. We're not sure when we're going to come out of this. And it's very important, whatever part of the business cycle you're in, that everybody does that part, pays their bills on time, keeps the whole wheels moving on the economy. So that's one we're all in together. So I just really wanted to touch on that and just some of the things that we're all going through daily as business people. And those are the three key pillars that I think will really bring us all together to make sure that we all get through this crisis. The next slide, please. So in terms of our new reality during COVID-19, the working from the home is a norm, and what has changed? Well, I think hardware and software solutions are obviously playing a very, very big part in this. And companies who have better digital platforms than others are obviously doing much better. We're all, obviously, despite from the technology headaches we've had on this call today, it really has been quite a revolution of what you can do on Zoom, WebEx, Microsoft Teams, and all these other apps that are out there. Also, companies have suddenly realized those who haven't been that quick to ensure that they have got all the technology capabilities where their employees and indeed their clients to a degree can log into their systems and use their information so they're really going to hit the ground running and not lose productivity. In terms of people, we just touched on that, working from home, it's a different experience for others. I've got certainly friends or colleagues in my team who are single, who say, they really enjoy the convenience of working from home actually, and they get a lot done. I've got others, who have young children who are finding it very distracting and quite stressful. That balance between, maintaining work life and homeschooling at the same time and all the other bits that go with that. In terms of the process, obviously the business process drives change in the workplace. And I think this is really going to, we're already seeing this change in terms of the way we've had to change our business process, given the basis we're working from home. And I think some of these changes will definitely be here to stay, and will be dragged into the office environment. Now, under no circumstances am I saying that I think more people the work from home will be the normal once the virus goes. I personally think a lot of people are missing going to the office, that office environment, and it's also demonstrated how important it is to set up a culture, how important that office environment is to your business culture and your business community, and that sharing and learning with colleagues. And I, for one, are certainly missing my colleagues. For some people, I think it's going to be more convenient to work sometimes from home, especially those with children or those who are having families and want to do part-time work while they've got a young family. I think that's a really great opportunity, especially for bringing more women back to work after those who have gone off to have families, and make a good balance between work from home. But a key thing that we're really seeing, and a lot of noises about, is we are going to be competing once we get back into the offices and the lockdown is lifted. We are going to be basically competing with working from home to our employees. And so we need to make our offices a place where people want to go. And we've already been going through that shift in terms of workplace anyway, but I think this virus is going to hugely accelerate that. If you don't make the workplace a really engaging place to go, then I think it's going to be very, very difficult to retrain and attract talent, and there will certainly be a loss of productivity. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the more traditional offices, and to a degree, there's still quite a lot of traditional office spaces in Indonesia, where someone has a desk, a cubicle. It's very vanilla in how it looks. There's very limited breakout rooms. There's no quiet rooms to jump in to make private phone calls, etc., etc. I think they're going to go, and they already will go. But that's people have got to speed up and get into that agile working, co-working mindset, because that is the environment that everybody is working in right now, and a lot of people have enjoyed that freedom. So we're going to have to bring that to the office world to really drive productivity. I'll just give you an example on that. I think one of the most traditional occupiers in the market is arguably law firms, and now we're seeing very traditional law firms who, with partner offices, everybody has an office. The backup staff usually sit outside. Everyone wants lots of cabinets because it's very confidential, and there's lots of paper trail and everything locked up and lots of filing and storage. That's the traditional law firm office. Well, guess what? Lawyers have had to adapt to this work from home change just like everybody else. And the stories I'm hearing from the law firms is actually they're beginning to realize that they need to manage how they can work from a digitalized platform. Less paper, which is obviously good for the environment, means less storage when we get back to the normal, which means they can have smaller offices, which means less rent. It also means that lawyers can be much more mobile. And I know that quite a few of the law firms are actually paying for their lawyers to set up at home, give them a printer, give them a good server, everyone's got a laptop, give them the right technology they need to do that. So, and everything gets stored and backed up on a digital platform. So, that's already impacting one of the most traditional office tenants out in the marketplace. So you can just see that change coming. And let's face it, guys, we've only been working from home for 7 weeks now. It does feel a lot longer than that. But in that 7 weeks, that change of mindset about how we work and what people want their offices to look like has happened incredibly quickly. So obviously we're seeing even traditional businesses, realize that, being productive at home, basically by having the right tools is something they can bring back in the office environment. And I think that will really help them drive costs as well. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is a slide, and we actually have a calculator. I wanted to show a video today, but unfortunately, the digital platform we're using today for this call wouldn't support a video, but I'll be very happy to send people a link as a follow-up. And it's called the 3-30-300 rule. And basically what we're looking at here is, this is again all costs and an opportunity for people, once we get back in the office, to reevaluate their real estate strategy and make sure they incorporate these three factors. Utilities. By having a more sustainable office, not only is it good for the environment, but it will help reduce costs by at least 10%. Now, that's $3. That's currently right now, the average spend is $3 per square foot. So obviously that's 30 cents saving just on being sustainable, which is obviously not going to be not only good for the environment, it's good for your corporate image, but it is going to reduce cost. Number two, real estate. Average $30 per square foot. What we are saying is if people start moving into agile working, and for those who don't know, agile working means that you don't have a set desk. When you come into the office environment, you have a locker, you'll probably have a zone, say finance department, commercial leasing, retail, whatever business you're in, and you would go and sit at a desk in that area. Now the furniture will be different because it's different for different tasks, which makes it more interesting. So the idea is that people move to certain areas of the office to do certain tasks. So if you need a bit confidential, quiet room, you go to a more quiet, isolated space in the office. If you want to be with a big open environment, making calls, engaging with colleagues, you obviously go to a bigger desk sharing area. By doing that, you can bring costs down by 10%. And that's because it really takes in consideration that, people have sick days, people are on holiday, people are out seeing clients. So if people actually clear their desk when they leave, it's very unlikely you'll ever be in a situation where you'll be walking in the office going, I don't have a desk. There's nowhere for me to sit. and people don't get obsessed by their desk because you don't actually have one. So you just go and sit wherever there's a vacant space, and you actually engage and get much more communication with other colleagues as well. And it's a very fun environment to work in. I certainly worked in that environment in our Shanghai office, and I'm very pleased to say that we are moving into that environment when we relocate into a new office in March 2021 for JLL. And for anyone on that call, once we move into that office, we'd be delighted to show you around, because it's going to be a very exciting and engaging environment. In terms of the human capital, well, $300 per square foot is on people cost. That's obviously huge. So you can imagine if we got a more productive experience from those people, that obviously how much that would add to the bottom line, which is very, very important. So what we are saying here is by improving that productivity through corporate real estate is going to drive revenue and profit. And that means agile working, that means an engaging environment. That means a place where people have got better breakout areas, common areas. And it is taking a lot of those tools from working from home. Now, I'll give another example on that from the experience that we're going through at JLL. Currently in the JLL Indonesia office, for example, everybody has a phone on their desk, as most companies do. When we move into our new office in March, nobody has a phone. Their phone will be their mobile phone, and it will be WhatsApp. People will have WebEx access. People will be able to dial in through Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and all other experiences through their laptop and mobile phone. So everyone has a laptop and everyone has a mobile phone, and you can pick that up, makes you totally mobile to move around the office. And obviously the communication with clients is completely different. And that's a big cost saving as well from a telecom perspective. So these are all very, very key features. If we can move on to the next slide now, please. So what does this mean for physical place? I mean, I think we've just touched on this, and this summarizes all of that quite nicely. You know, fit for purpose space, people-centric. It's got to be experience-led, evidence-based, space planning to support various activities and work styles, mobility technology enabled. You know, I'm very proud that, you know, for JLL, for example, we have been able to move and transition into a work from home seamlessly because everybody already had a laptop. Everybody could immediately dial into our systems. Everyone was mobile and technology enabled, which means we didn't miss a beat in servicing our clients. And for those companies that haven't done that, they now need to see the urgency that they've got to do that. So a lot of the spend on office fit outs and everything else, when choosing where you work, whether it's co-working or traditional office space, obviously technology is a big part of that. A showcase, unique organization, culture, and brand. Yeah, we're all competing for the same millennial talent. Your office should be a great place to attract, engage, and retain talent, and also a place that your clients want to come to. You know, for many years, Google has been the talk of the town. Oh, have you been to their Google office? It's really cool. It's really fun. People like going to meetings there. Well, you can imagine if that was your company, where people were actually wanting to come to visit you in your office space because they thought it was such a cool environment. Well, I imagine that's obviously a big advertisement for people who want to come and work there as well. So again, your office and your environment, not only does it drive culture, but it also drives talent. If we go on to the next slide, please. So, I mean, I've just touched on a few brief things there. I will touch on a couple of things that I'm sure people will ask, and that is for the tenants and the landlords on there. And a lot of people have been asking me, well, you know, what do we do during this cash flow uncertainty period in terms of, you know, rents, et cetera, et cetera. And our approach is, it's the same approach you'd have with your bank manager during this time. You've got to treat your landlord or your co-working provider or your business center provider as your partner. We are all in this together. And you need to sit down and have a meaningful conversation about that. I can tell you, the landlord community in Jakarta, they're not making a blanket decision on giving any rent-free holidays, on deferring any rent, or anything of that such. What they're doing is they're having one-on-one conversations with their tenants and finding a solution that works for both parties. So going there with that partnership mentality and approach, just like you would when you're speaking to your bank manager, it's the same way you should be treating your real estate solution provider. So that is my strong advice on that one. On the upbeat, I can tell you the industrial and logistics sector, real estate sector is doing very, very well, especially logistics leasing, mainly taken up by essential retail sector and e-commerce, which is really driving that. And I think, again, that was a trend we were already seeing before the health crisis, but again, that's just been accelerated. Technology is obviously having a very good a period during this, because obviously everyone is so reliant on technology, and obviously healthcare as well. So it's not all doom and gloom. Some sectors doing very well out of it. Other sectors, we're just going to have to manage ourselves through this, and by working together and treating all our partners and our business partners as equals, I think is very much the right approach, and will get us through that process. In terms of the business continuity process moving forward, well, I think we've all just proven to ourselves that working from home is that process. And again, I've mentioned it several times in this presentation, technology enabled, technology mobility, digital platform are all key to surviving in that environment. And so I think everyone is going to be upscaling and really from a technology perspective, and a lot of that technology will come into the new office environment and office space for workplace strategy moving forward. Obviously, we're trying to cover a lot of ground here. I'm sure there's lots of questions. I've got lots of information, very happy to share. So perhaps if I could go back to Vanessa and then open it up, if there's anything anyone wants to ask in Pacific, we can really focus on that. But thanks very much for your time, and apologies for the cluster at the start on the technology. I can assure you I'm the innocent party on that one. I do actually know how to use the kit.
Thank you so much, James, for that presentation. Very insightful indeed, and right to the target of our topic today, which is back to work, right? BCP. I think I'm going to open. Oh, I'm sorry. It's raining very hard here. That's probably. I'm gonna blame that for the technology blunder today. I want to open the floor for any questions from the listeners or the attendees today, and we will try to answer as many as the time allows. We're actually quite on time still. Hi, James. Based on the source that I've read, in some parts of Asia, some landlords have offered temporary rental rebates and rent discount. Meanwhile, in some countries like Singapore, are considering legislation that would protect commercial tenants who cannot pay rent for a period of 6 months. What is your thought on this, considering the situation in Indonesia, where the PSBB regulation continues to be extended? Thanks. I think you touched a little bit on that earlier, James, but of course, I'm also a tenant, and when I hear all these government relief for many businesses, I wish they could do the same in Indonesia, but that's not the case. I think you have a broader, more global view on this. Maybe you can share a little bit on that. This is a question from Matthew.
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and it is very different from country to country. And I think, let's say it out loud. The reasons it's different is because obviously, countries have far different wealths and money to play with. Indonesia, unfortunately, isn't that in a position to start underwriting and giving, tax breaks and rebates, etc. So it is a bit more reliant on the landlord community. Now, I can tell you in Jakarta and across Indonesia, we are seeing landlords give rent-free holidays and rebates to retail tenants. Those are the ones who have definitely been hardest hit. For obvious reasons by it, because it is a close down. For tenants in offices, it's very different. I can tell you now that banks, they're still using their offices. They have A and B teams. Banks can't close their offices. They have to be operational. So do some other sectors. So it's very case by case. And so I think that's why the landlords have been very much on a case by case negotiation and discussion, because every single occupier's circumstances are different, and people want different things. And if someone is still occupying the office, then that's very different to someone who is 100% work from home. I can tell you JLL is we're 100% work from home. I have some apart from couple of days a week, some of our finance team go in because they need to just do some audit trails. So my message is, I can tell you in Hong Kong and China, where we are seeing some rent-free holidays, and how they're usually working out is people are going into a negotiation with landlords saying, well, look, if I can negotiate 3 months rent-free holiday over May, June, July, they can agree to extend the lease longer. So, for example, the landlord might say, well, if you extend the lease for an extra 12 months or 18 months, we can give you another 3-month holiday. So it's a bit of a win-win for everybody. They get you as a tenant for longer, and you get some rent-free period in a time where you really need it. So again, that's very much a partnership agreement. So I think that's been working well in some of the mature markets. I think it's early days here at the moment to see if that's going to happen here. Landlords, in my opinion, from office perspective, they are sitting on their hands. For them, it's still week 7. We're not sure what's going to happen. Obviously, Ramadan's quite a quiet month anyway in Indonesia. So I think from a business perspective, that's quite good timing. Hopefully, from a revenue perspective, I know that most businesses, May is the quiet one. So hopefully that will help. So it's very much a wait and see. I mean, on deferring rent, in my opinion, on deferring rent, it may help now, but in many respects, you're just kicking the can down the road because, you've got to pay for it at some point. So, it's very much case by case, but, good question, Matthew. And every market is different. Singapore, very lucky that the government stepped in and introduced that legislation, but that's just not going to happen in a market like Indonesia, unfortunately.
Yep, that's right, James. You touch a little bit on how office demand is going to change significantly, right, after this crisis. A lot of the corporates or big enterprises who tend to set their own office for their staff are probably going to reduce that significantly, or perhaps looking at more flexible work solutions in other countries that have gone through the crisis a bit earlier than we have. Maybe from the JLL point of view, can you talk a little bit about the demand change in the office space in 2019 versus 2020, and how would corporate and big enterprise looking into finding office space in the future?
So look, in 2019, most corporate relocations were driven by the fact that people wanted to change their workspace. So they wanted to go away from traditional into more agile working. They want to modernize it. And it's very difficult to reconfigure your own space. So a lot of people, that was the key driver for moving office. And I can tell you that's a key driver for JLL moving office next year, is because we want to be in very modern, embracing, agile, productive working space. I think that this virus and the work from home period will accelerate that for lots of companies in terms of wanting to do it. But the handbrake on it to a degree is going to be cash flow. It's going to be very difficult at a time where revenue has been tough. 2020 is going to be a tough year. I think we all know that it is, and that's going to be set to continue. So for certain companies outside of the technology, e-commerce, healthcare, and essential retail sectors, it's going to be very tough getting approval for sign-off on a big office fit-out in this environment. But I do think people will look in 2021. I think will be a very good year. Hopefully, when things are back to normal, people got revenue, that people realize they need to change their office environment, because people have suddenly realized that the flexibility and the mobility of working from home, they want to have the same flexibility and mobility in their offices. And the companies that haven't done that will need to accelerate that change. So I think that's a really exciting change. I think people may be able to should be able to downsize by taking agile working, but they will probably end up spending more money on their office fit out, certainly on the technology spend, to make sure that technology platform in their office is also a mobile one as well. So I'm pretty bullish on the prospects of the office market next year. I think the only bump we need to get over is obviously from a cash flow perspective, but this is only going to accelerate people wanting to move into modern new offices. And for those who can't afford the cash flow, then right into your sweet spot, Vanessa. Co-working is a fantastic solution because you have that agile working solution, you have the technology, you have the breakout areas, you have the flexibility, and tenants don't have to invest in the fit out. So I think your sector could do well out of this as well because it's a good solution.
I think there are probably some co-working players in the call as well. There are a couple of questions on how you see or what kind of design or density requirements you see in the future coming out of this crisis. Are corporates making changes to their interior fit outs? Do you think there will be some significant shift in terms of design and in terms of how the infrastructure will work for the future office requirements?
I do, but I already think that was happening. Again, just to repeat again, I just think the whole thing is going to get accelerated. So the future of workspace, to me, it's going to be a nice sort of co-work. If it's traditional office space, it's going to be that sort of co-working breakout style reception area where it's going to be quite busy and there are people working, not traditional where you're walking and it's one person sat behind a desk and you sit on your own and there's a few meeting rooms. I think it's going to be much more open office, less offices. I don't see any need for offices, but a lot more quiet rooms and meeting rooms that people can jump into. I think it's going to be really nice communal sort of coffee areas. I think one of the big questions was, how much office work time do employers lose for employees going to Starbucks just to hang out? Well, if you had that sort of breakout cool area and a really nice coffee machine in your offices, well, people could do it there, and maybe you'll get clients come and hang out there as well. So I think that's what we're going to be moving towards, much more really fun areas, places we want to go to and enjoy getting to. And I think that's really important in Indonesia in particular, because a lot of the workforce, they do live at home with their parents, the younger generations, and going to the office is, I'm not going to say escape because that will come across.
For me, it will be. I cannot wait to go back.
Well, I have 2 young children as well, so I get it. But going to the office and a place where you belong. It's your corporate identity. They're your colleagues, your friends, and that's where you're learning. You're working together. You're on that journey. We want that to be a place where people really look forward to going to the office. And I think that's one of the lessons that we learned from when co-working first came onto the market. Actually, everyone was like going. A lot of corporate players were going, "Hey, I don't get this. People are paying to go and work in an office, a co-working office, whereas we struggle to get people to want to come to our traditional offices." And suddenly the penny dropped. Make your space exciting, and people will want to come to work, and they hang out there longer. They have this more social activity, social clubs, whether it be yoga or whatever after work, all these kind of things. So I think that's really where that much more community-based office environment, I think, will be very much accelerated into traditional office spaces as well.
Cool. We have maybe 1 or 2 questions, time for questions. I think there are a couple of questions for me as well. For this PSBB condition in Jakarta, how would GoWork perform in terms of occupancy rate, especially in CBD Jakarta areas? How's the strategy for long term, especially for the new normal would be? This is from Joe. Okay.
Well, I mean, look, I'll have a stab at that. I mean, look, I think the new normal, to me, because I've been on 2 conference calls today, and one was with my CEO, and he was talking about the new normal, and I was like, well, what is the new normal? To me, the new normal that everyone's talking about is flexibility, it's mobility. When the fact that we can't business travel, I think personally will definitely drop, because people have realized that actually I can do a lot of work on webinar and Zoom, etc., by having that access. But we still miss hanging out with our clients and our colleagues. But it's just the fact that we can, the new normal will be is that you literally can pick up your office, put it into a bag and take it home with you. To me, I think that's what they mean by the new normal. And again, that is going to be, so it's very much sort of plug and play. When you go into your office environment, you plug in, you work, and you can do that at home as well.
Yeah, I was also listening to a podcast earlier this week on Airbnb, and they were saying that there will be a lot of people who will be a global citizen, right? Because they don't have to necessarily go back to one particular office to work. They can just work from anywhere, and then they also shift their strategy to be a long-term stay versus just holiday stay. So I think it's going to be the same, like similar to a lot of the offline real estate players as well.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of occupancy, I don't think there's going to be a big run on rents in Indonesia, simply because we're at the bottom of the market anyway. I just think we'll probably stay here a bit longer than we thought. I mean, our forecast originally was that we were going to come out of the bottom of the market in Q3, Q4. That was before the virus. Now we've got the virus here. I just think we're going to be here for another probably 12 to 18 months, arguably. So there's some great opportunities for tenants who are looking to move, to negotiate some good deals. I can tell you, speaking to my colleagues ex-colleagues in well, they're still my colleagues, but in Shanghai, that they're saying that certain Chinese landlords now, and indeed international landlords in China, are beginning to start offering fit-out contributions. Now, I can tell you, having worked in China for 14 years, that never happened. So, interesting now that there's going to be more incentives potentially on the table. So don't just look at the rent. There might be some other things that can help. You can negotiate in this market to potentially drive a relocation, which was obviously going to be very important given the cash flow element. So I don't think there's going to be a big run on vacancy. And I think, Indonesia's got a very healthy and fast growing technology and e-commerce and healthcare sector. So, that's exciting. There are still a lot of activity in those sectors, and those tenants are growing in the market, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right. I also want to be mindful of everybody's time. Just one last question. It's on a lighter note. How do you keep sane during this work from home period, James? And what is your most favorite activity that you have picked up in the last 2 months? Maybe we can all learn from it.
Yeah. I mean, I've enjoyed spending more time with my children, although there are some painful moments. But,
that's what I told myself for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I don't say that anymore.
Yeah, between 8 and 12, when there's homeschooling and work going on, it's not my favorite part of the day. But when the homeschooling bit goes, and that's good fun. So I'm enjoying that, and you get to see what they're doing at school and the more reality. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm very lucky. I've got a rowing machine at home. I've got some circuits set up. So
By the way, James is an athlete. We share a hobby, but he's 10 million times fitter than I am.
That's very kind. Yeah. So I'm lucky. I'm still doing a lot of fitness at home. I'd encourage everyone to do that. My wife's a big yoga fanatic, so she gets me doing that every now and then, which is interesting. But it's all good. So it's important to do those things. And I think, to everybody there, while you're working from home, use this time to spend some quality time with your family, because I think when we come out of this, we'll look back and go, yes, there were some difficult bits in there. Yes, it's difficult on work and revenue and job security and everything. But, the nice bits we'll look at is go, well, actually, we got to spend some real quality time with our children. Because we weren't stuck in traffic, we weren't stuck at work. So, enjoy those moments. And have some good quality time with your families.
Thank you, James. All right. Before we end, thank you so much, James, for that insightful session. Before we end, I just want to share a couple of minutes of information on some of the initiatives and activities that we're going to be doing in our digital platform at GoWork. So because a lot of our locations are non-operational now, we still would like to connect with our community members, our network, our partners, and we have been putting a lot of efforts in creating insightful content and learning platform like what we do today. So some of the ones that have happened in the past month, I mean, we have topics on lifestyle, on yoga. James mentioned that his wife is a yogi, and we have topics on beauty. We have more serious topics on business, marketing strategy, etc. If you would like to get more information on this, please check out our social media. We have 2 Instagram accounts, GoWork Community and Let's.GoWork. A lot of the informations are there. We also have a YouTube channel and also a podcast channel for you guys to keep entertaining yourself, whether you are working from home or later on when you're back in the office. Our next topic that is still related to the crisis is on business continuity insight. It's going to happen next Monday. If you would like to register for this, please check out our website, go-work.com/events, and you will see a lot of our events in the future from there. All right. So with that in mind, and it's still thundering like crazy, I promise you guys, I did not mean to not show myself on video. I've been trying to click on the video icon, but it doesn't show. I'm not in my pajama. I'm fully dressed. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work. So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much, James, and have a wonderful long weekend at home with your family.
Happy Ramadan,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you.
Happy Ramadan.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.